Joining me now is Texas Congressman Pat Fallon to talk more about this. And, sir, thank you so much for the time. It's good to see you.
Rob, thanks for having me on. I appreciate it.
Sure. Trump's time in office exposed, in a lot of ways, just how political these supposedly nonpartisan branches of government can actually be, especially DOJ and FBI. We're going to put more up from the BuzzFeed report here on this Michigan governor plot. Quote, to date, one defendant has formally accused the government of entrapment, arguing the FBI assembled the key plotters, encouraged the group's anti-government feelings, and even gave its members military-style training. I mean, when you read this report, Congressman, it seems like the FBI wanted to kidnap Gretchen Whitmer, and these guys were just kind of brought along for the ride.
Well, I think that's the new headline, Rob, is the FBI kidnaps or attempts to kidnap Michigan governor. That's not what their role is, and they know better. And that does expose them as really an arm of the Democratic Party. And that's frightening, and that's chilling.
It is something else. I want to play a little more from some of the things that we heard today. Here is Congressman Rodney Davis earlier.
I don't even think it's about the next election. It's about the Speaker's office maintaining an absolute iron grip on her conference in the People's House for the next 18 months.
I mean, when you look at this, you look at the decision that Pelosi made today, which I really do see as an unforced error, because she's trying to give this thing credibility, and she's trying to convince people that she really wants an investigation. But there is something to this idea. I mean, you know, when you look at it, why didn't they call for backup? Why didn't they call for support? Why, when there was all these, you know, people asking for support, they didn't get it. The people that answered to Pelosi weren't doing it. It makes you wonder a lot, doesn't it?
Yeah, Rob, it reminds me of an old song from, I think, the 90s, Things That Make You Go, Because I was walking into work that morning, and I was wondering, the security was so thin that, you know, the job of the sergeant at arms and to ensure our security is to make, you know, to plan for the worst case scenario. And it was noticeably thin, and it made me wonder at that point. And clearly, Speaker Pelosi has a bias against Jims, because she doesn't want Jim Banks and Jim Jordan to serve. And I'll tell you why. Because she doesn't want to play against Joe Montana and Tom Brady. They are excellent members, and as you said, very effective communicators. And she wants some kind of, all of the members are really good, but she was obviously really disturbed and frightened for them to be on that committee.
Yeah, I mean, and you'll see the flip side of that in 2022 when presumably Republicans take back the House and they start investigating a lot of nasty stuff, and suddenly Adam Schiff's not allowed to do any investigations. What are the Democrats going to have to say then? They started this war. Moving away from January 6th, though, you're a member of the Armed Services Committee. Earlier today, General Milley said this about the Afghanistan withdrawal.
The future of Afghanistan is squarely in the hands of the Afghan people, and there are a range of possible outcomes in Afghanistan, and I want to emphasize repeatedly, and I've said this before, a negative outcome, a Taliban automatic military takeover, is not a foregone conclusion.
So I want to reiterate, you know, I mean, I actually do think that the Biden team is making the right move here. I think getting out is probably inevitable, has to be done at some point. But this map actually shows the Taliban recapturing just a huge swath of this country very, very quick, except the capital of Kabul, where they've got a bit of a stronghold there. This is bad, though. I mean, I don't think there was a lot of great outcomes in Afghanistan.
Sure.
But what do you think is the correct path forward?
What President Trump was doing was he had a plan to get out of Afghanistan, to pull out, but he had conditions that needed to be met.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, when Joe Biden came in office, he was setting arbitrary dates. And that's, the Taliban's going to, they'll honor a truce until we get out, and then they're going to attack.
Sure.
So it was, it's a tough place. I mean, that's a place that, it was a graveyard for the British. It was a graveyard for the Russians. And it's a loose confederation of tribes. But, what we can have is them, the Taliban does take over, aiding and abetting terrorists again, because they were directly responsible for the deaths of 3,000 Americans. Yeah. And they don't like women to read, and they don't like them conjugating verbs because they'll shoot them in the head for doing so. So we know they're an evil regime. We know we can't trust them. And the only thing that they really understand, the only English they understand, the Taliban, is force and might. Yeah. That's it.
You're not wrong about that. I mean, that country, that situation, it's just tough to see a positive outcome no matter what happens. It really is. It's quite a debacle. Congressman Pat Fallon, always good to see you, sir. Thank you for the time.
Rob, you're a great American. I appreciate it. God bless.
Appreciate that.